Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with, it's kind of a revisit. There were certain recordings I read about when I was growing up and I was a kid, and I heard them, and I liked them very much, and I read reviews, and some of them were quite scathing, and some of them were quite positive, but I wished I had the ability to have said something about them myself. I was a budding critic, even at the age of 14 or so, or 15, or 13. And in this case, there was an album. Oh, I remember the reviews. I remember when it came out. Classical Barbra Streisand's classical song recital. And, when classical artists generally do popular song recitals, the popular song people tend to crap all over them, and some of the classical people just eat it up. It's so wonderful that they're out slumming and that they deign to touch this pat popular repertoire. They're very condescending about it. There are exceptions, such as when African American opera singers do spirituals. That's a whole different category, right? And there were always exceptions to the rule. There were a couple, opera singers who were comfortable doing popular music, and Eileen Farrell, of course, comes to mind immediately. But the other way is kind of rare. It really is. Remember, Michael Bolton did a classical album that everybody kind of dumped all over, and when this came out in 1976. I remember reading the reviews about, things like vocal technique and breath control and things like that. And I was like, who cares? Goodness gracious. Because there are two observations that I want to make about this. And we could talk about a few of the details. First of all, great singers have a right to sing anything they want, period. I really believe that. If someone's a great artist and they can sing and they can communicate and they've got... and they love the music, let them sing it. If they have to adapt it to their voices, to their particular styles, let them sing it. Who is it hurting? It's a wonderful idea, I think. I think it often brings a whole different level of communicativeness to songs that lots of people would otherwise never have the opportunity to hear. So there's that point. The second point that I need to make, and this has to do with the nature of music itself, is that all songs are the same. Now, we have had this discussion. I've made some videos about my leader problem and the classical music culture surrounding leader singing, and I've gotten some very vociferous replies that, there's art song and then there's popular song. It's all bullshit. There's just song. And a great song is a great song. And all of them have the same thing in common. They have good music, they have a decent text, and they have a setting that somehow illuminates or vitalizes the text. In other words, the words and the music belong together. They fit together like a hand in a glove. That is a great song. And if the words and the music together have that quality, it doesn't matter whether a troubadour sang it in the 13th century or Schubert wrote it or Def Leppard did it. It makes no difference whatsoever. All that matters is the authenticity of the musical setting and the excellence thereof. And if you can't hear excellence in popular music, well, that's your problem. That's not mine. I hear it. And so many other people do. So if Barbra Streisand, who is a popular singer, decides she wants to sing some classical songs, and she loves them, and she sings them well, and she does, then what's the big deal? Let her do it. I love this album. I've always loved this album. I still love this album. And I just want to tell you what's on it, because it's a fabulous range of songs by an extraordinary singer. Now, of course, her voice is mic'd, so the balances are, voice here. They have different tracks separately. It's the Columbia Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Klaus Ogerman, and he plays the piano and some of the leader with piano. And so you have to get used to the pop approach to production values, which bothers me not a bit. And you also have to understand that Streisand is going to sing them at transpositions, whatever she needs to do to let them suit her voice. And it's amazing how well they do. So it begins with Debussy's Beau Soir in a gorgeous orchestral setting. Oh my gosh, it's just yummy. Then we have one of the songs of the Auvergne, the Berceuse, which is, Brezzarola from Songs of the Auvergne, which are perfect for Barbra Streisand. She could do them all. It would be marvelous. Hugo Wolff, Verschweigene Liebe, Silent Love. I love this performance, by the way, speaking of love, because I used to play it for all of my Hugo Wolff snob leader people friends, and it would drive them up a wall. I don't know why. It's totally sensitive and very, one of the things about Streisand's delivery in all these songs, and that makes it so different from what you usually hear in classical song recitals, is her naturalness. She just sings effortlessly. And sometimes, the tessitura or the intervals stretch her a little bit. It's okay. There's just this naturalness of singing, which you so seldom hear in the classical song repertoire. It's always so arch and so artificial, or it's often so artificial, unless it's Ellie Ameling or Janet Baker. There were singers who understood, Regine Crespin, who understood how to put over a song with that same kind of naturalness. But that's not a function of training, of operatic training versus popular training. It's a function of knowing how to sing. Marilyn Horne could do it too. Really wonderful. Anyway, then we've got Fauré's Pavane, which is a vocalise, and the same composer's Après un rêve. Oh, it's such a gorgeous song. And Carl Orff's Intrutina from Carmina Burana. Now, that's such an exquisite line of melody, and she doesn't try to hang on to the last note for all 57 bars of the coda. Ya da 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 da, ya da. While the orchestra's going, you do 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 do. Opera singers are supposed to do it. And in those performances, I get annoyed when the singer doesn't hang on to that last note for, 45 minutes, because that's what they're trained to do. But Barbra Streisand doesn't try. She ends it and fades out exquisitely, and it's fine. And then we've got, Handel. Yeah, sure, Lascio Ch'io Pianga. Oh, from Rinaldo. One of the tunes that Handel stuck into every opera he could, because it was one of his greatest hits. It's just so, so beautiful. Schumann's Mondnacht, Handel's Dank sei dir Herr, Klaus Ogerman, I Loved You. Of course, they had to do one of those things. It's quite nice. And then, as a bonus on the CD, 2 Schubert songs on Sylvia. And these are done in a somewhat different acoustic with simple piano accompaniment, and they're wonderful. Really, really wonderful. And Auf dem Wasser zu singen, they're just great. One of the other wonderful things Barbra Streisand has, which all great song and leader singers have, she has wonderful diction. She really does. I'm not getting into whether her accent is absolutely authentic or not, but you hear every single word. And she identifies with the texts, which are included. Texts and translations. Yeah, remember those? So I just wanted to revisit this because it takes me back to my youth, and I think it makes a few points about our musical life that are worth stressing. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.